Well, it's 2:55, and we'd like to go ahead and begin the next short talk. This is with Monica Torres and Christina Overmyer, who are going to be presenting Beyond Logistics, Building an Effective TA Professional Development for a Large Enrollment STEM Course. Thank you so much for sharing today. You can begin, and we have 15 minutes for the short talks, and I'll just kind of give you a wave when you got 1 minute left.
Okay, great. Thank you. So
Yes.
do you see the screen?
I see the screen, yes.
Okay, perfect. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Monica Torres, and I'm going to present Beyond Logistics, Building Effective TA Professional Development for Large Enrollment Courses with my colleague, Christina Overmyer. We are both from the General Biology Program, Division of Life Science, Office of Undergraduate Education at Rutgers University in New Jersey. So following, let me see, it doesn't. Okay, I think there is a delay with the Zoom. I'm sorry about that. Okay, so following the lead of other presenters earlier in the meeting, I'm going to skip a little bit why we need professional development for TAs. This is pretty obvious in this meeting, but I'm going to keep a few things that are in the context of our institution. So having TAs allows us to offer large enrollment courses, right? So this is very important. So the TAs that we have, they have a limited prior teaching experience, even though they are all required to complete an online onboarding course for the TAP project. That this is a project from the School of Graduate Studies. But also this course, or the requirement to complete this course that is asynchronous online, is dependent on the department or school. The TAP project used to have a branch for international students that were hired as a TA. And years ago, it was a very good program that was focusing on explaining what it means to be an undergrad for international students. And also they have seminars on public speaking to be more confident, in the classroom. This was target for international students. But the TAP project was fading away. And I think it went away during the pandemic, mainly, right? So in our program, we have about 13, 18 TAs per semester, depending the size of the course. And having these teaching positions is very important for our TAs because it helps them with their career readiness, but also is their only financial support in most of the cases. So I believe that my Zoom is stuck again. Okay, we are in the next slide. Yes, thank you. Okay, so in our institution, as part of the strategic plan to increase support for teaching, the TA project now was transferred from the School of Graduate Studies to the TIP, that is the Institute for Teaching, Innovation, and Inclusive Pedagogy. And this happened in July of 2025. So we don't know how this transferring to a different institution is going to revive the program, but I'm keeping an eye on that. So the GB program is one of the introductory programs with more TAs on campus, and we created a professional development for TAs that is a specific tailor for our courses in general biology. So the program was created, I would say, out of a necessity, right? To be able to coordinate and implement large enrollment courses and to make possible to include active learning in the classroom, in our general biology courses, and this was when the course was transformed about 10 years ago or so. So the same activities we are bringing into the professional development. We do active learning, peer mentoring, pairing TAs with more experience, with new ones or junior TAs. We have continuous observations of the lab rooms, and we focus on transferable skills during the professional development in a way for the TAs to buy in how the skills that are practicing during their teaching activities are also important for their career development. So next. Okay, so the course structure is intertwined with how we are doing our professional development for TAs. So the lab class is offered all year round. We have about 1,400 students a year. The labs are 4-hour sections, and each lab has 24 students, and the TAs are required to teach 2 sections per week. So this is 8 hours. So the structure of the lab is open-ended with inquiry-based experiences, and this is also related to the type of training that we have to do for our TAs, because troubleshooting, time management are highly important to be able to teach this type of labs. Also, the type of lab activities that we have per week, they are connected. One lab builds on the previous lab, and we have a project that are multi-week. So what it means is that there is a problem or an issue during one of the weeks. This is going to have a domino effect on the following weeks. So troubleshooting is very important for our training. Next one. So these type of lab activities create unique challenges for our TAs, right? So we are building in our professional development active learning, where the TAs are going to experience the lab activities the same that the students are going to do during class. And this helps the TA to be prepared and experience the same type of experiments and use of instruments that the students are going to be completing during class. Also having 24 students and being working in this type of inquiry-based activities, class management and time management skills are highly important to be able to teach this type of labs. So next. So our TAs, I mentioned before, we have, depending if it's fall or spring, we have between 13 or 18 TAs. And our TAs come from different graduate programs. Some of them come even from different schools. So what they have in common is that they are all from STEM-related PhD programs. So very rare that we have master students. In general, they are PhD students from different programs, different schools. So this gives the group a high diversity in the training and background that they come with, right? So it's a very rich group, and it helps keeping the conversation interesting during the training. So next one. So our training program is incorporated into what we call a weekly 4 hours training that is a prep meeting. So the TAs have to teach 2 sections. This will be 8 hours. And then they have once a week 4 hours of training that we call a prep meeting. So at the beginning of the semester, we have an orientation meeting that is dedicated to the course policies, the expectations as a TA, and also is a way to define what is going to be the schedule for the semester. So then something that is particular about this training is that it's incorporated in the hours that they have to complete 15 hours per week as per their contract. And in each of these trainings, we tailor the training to what we are doing during the week. So we start each of these prep meetings with feedback from the previous week, and we do this in a systematic way using forms. And we bring comments from this feedback form to the classroom to follow up with discussion. Also, we incorporated during this semester to do the manual grading during these prep meetings. And the selling point is, it's twofold benefit having the grading during the prep meetings with training. So we are able to do an initial training about what is feedback and the different types of feedback that you can give to students with specific examples with the activity that we are grading. And also, the other benefit is that the TAs, when they leave prep, they are going to leave prep ready to teach the following week. So all the activities that they have to do related to teaching are going to be concentrated in these 4 hours professional development, right? So the mentoring is based on pairing TAs with more experience than others, or if they are completing the same activity regarding giving feedback during grading. Next one. So then in these weekly prep meetings, and here I'm going to repeat a little bit, right? So we start, they all have the same structure, but adapted to what we are teaching during the week in the lab. So we start with the feedback from their teaching experience in the previous week, what were the problems that they have, how they were doing with time management, etc. Then we go into presenting what are the learning objectives and why we are doing what we are doing in the following week. And we have demonstrations of how to use the teaching materials. So the TAs receive the package for the day that includes the clicker questions that they are going to use, the presentation, and the demonstrations that they have to do. And we have a rotation of TAs during these demonstrations of how to use the teaching materials. So this is going to happen in each class. So the TAs have the opportunity to see other TAs using the same teaching materials that they are going to use during the week. So during this process of practice of how to use the materials, the rest of the TAs and Cristina and myself, we attend this prep meeting. We give them feedback on how they are using the materials. Also, we have demonstrations on how to do class discussions and how to pose different questions to increase engagement with the students, right? And in general, we model all the activities during these prep sessions. For TAs with less experience, we have troubleshooting scenarios that we adapt depending on the week of the training, depending on what we are doing during the lab. And this troubleshooting can be focused on the equipment, or it can be focused on something specific for professional development. For example, how to create good questions for discussion or follow-up for the course. Next one. So Assessing impact. Okay, so we have the next one. So then we have a TA weekly feedback on teaching experience, where we have different aspects of the teaching experience that we are collecting information. If they are using for example, hours outside of the training to get ready for teaching, how they are doing with class management, if they have any issues with the students, if they require more resources. All this is collected through the feedback. Then during each of the practices or demonstrations, the TA doing the demonstration received feedback in real time from all of the rest of the TAs and, the faculty present. And also is a system that we have in our organization to have frequent observations of the labs, and where we can give direct and specific feedback to the TA to specific situations that are happening during lab time. All our labs are connected, so it's very easy to go from one to the next. So we also have at the beginning and at the end of the semester a student survey feedback regarding their teaching experience with specific questions about their TAs. For example, public speaking, if they are answering questions. And this is something that we revise. We review that during our prep meeting. And give feedback to the TA on how to improve, right? And then at the end of the semester, we have again the same survey from the students. Next one.
Okay, I'll make it quick because I know we're running out of time. Some of the challenges that we face is that we have a diverse first group of TAs, and they vary with their teaching experience. And as Dr. Torres mentioned, we have a time constraint where we have to squeeze everything into a 15 hours a week time frame for the TAs. And this makes it difficult to be consistent with applying the policies, grading feedback, because consistencies and grading feedback. And it is also kind of, there's a variation in motivation with the teacher, the TAs, as we've talked about throughout this workshop. So as Monica mentioned previously, we have a wide range of academic disciplines from our TAs, from plant biology to medicinal chemistry, but also their teaching experience varies, where in the survey, it shows that we have TAs with only 2 semesters of teaching up to 8 semesters of teaching. So having to work our training program to make sure that the newer TAs gain all their experience and are ready to teach, versus balancing the ones who are more experienced, without boring them, or trying to keep them a little more motivated and engaged. It's difficult, but we try to involve mentorship and pairing them, the returning TAs with the new TAs, to kind of offset that variation in teaching levels. And as we talked about extensively, motivation is quite diverse. This is a survey question that was posed to the TAs at our orientation meeting about why they want to teach, why do they want to be a TA. Most of them, they have this passion or to teach, or they have a passion for science, which is great because that's internal, motivation. Others, they want to develop their soft skills, transferable skills such as communication. But then we have about roughly a third of our TAs are doing it because they are looking for funding, right? So keeping them engaged and keeping them enthusiastic about being a TA can be a little bit challenging. And we are constantly trying to brainstorm ways to get them to think of this as more of just a funding opportunity. So what we want to gain out of this professional development is to increase the program's assessments to facilitate program adaptation to TA needs. And basically, this will help gauge and document effectiveness of training. So we are looking to do more assessments. To combat some of the challenges, we do have a strong instructional support laid out. Here's an organizational chart depicting staff support and administration support, with my position at the top level overseeing 2 campuses. Each campus has a designated full-time staff member to support the classroom needs, making sure the rooms are all set up, each day, each week it changes, and, making sure the morning and afternoon sections are running smoothly. Besides operational needs, the campus supervisors also assist the TAs in immediate issues, such as, student management, if students are running late, if there's a dress code violation, helping to replenish any materials and reagents that, are missing, or if they are running out because of spills or mistakes, which happens, providing the TAs with a quick break for restroom break or religious observances, and then also directly helping with equipment and technical issues. There's 24 students in each classroom, and the TAs often have a hard time managing every question and then finding time to troubleshoot the equipment. So the staff support comes in, is crucial in fixing these issues so we don't delay the learning process any further. And of course, any emergencies that arise, whether it's building related, student related, inclement weather, we have that staff support who has more experience to help the TAs out, answer any questions or work through the process. And this is,
I'm sorry,
yes,
we're getting close to our next talk time.
this should be the last slide. This is just a hierarchy of our structure. We provide the TAs with what we call a TA note, which is their best friend, and basically has all of the pertinent information they need to be a little more autonomous in their teaching, but then also give them support with the resources such as time frame of the activities, important reminders, and just what they need to do before each class. And then it goes all the way up to staff support, and then meeting with the course director as needed.
Okay.
That's basically
thank you so
the gist
much.
of it.
If for those of you that have questions, please address those in the chat. And I'm sorry, but we need to move on. Thank you so much for sharing about the work that you're doing. I have to manage a large group as well, and it is a logistical challenge for sure.